G'day there guys, it's Connie here once again and we are back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far and let's get straight into the stories. Alrighty guys, we're on True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Belovend and it's titled, My boyfriend did not give me the first slice of cake. I, 20 female, am from Brazil, and here it is a tradition that in a birthday party, the person whose birthday is being celebrated gives the first slice of cake to their favourite person after everyone sings the birthday song. This week was my boyfriend's, 24, and he had 3 celebrations, one with his birth family, one with his adoptive family, and one with his friends, which was a surprise picnic that I planned and organised. He has had a very difficult life, and his mums are really important to him, as the adoptive mum saved him from starving as a kid and raised him, giving him a chance at life, and his birth mum battled very hard against poverty all her life, struggling and fighting to keep her kids alive and well. So of course I never expect him to give me the first slice of cake at the family celebrations. But then there was the picnic. I spent weeks planning and reaching out to all his childhood friends, making sure they would come. I went to bed at 2 AM the night before, making him his favourite cake. I spent a crap ton of money with food, drinks and gifts. I did not do it because of the first slice, of course, but at all times I couldn't help but think, now is my turn. Turns out it was not. He has a best friend of many years. She and him are like brother and sister. They went through a lot of crap together, like her losing her mum, him not having food to eat at home as a teen. And even though they're so close, they don't get the chance to see each other very often now, as they both are very busy with life and all its crap. So of course, he took the chance to show her some appreciation. She was so happy, and of course I understood the situation. He sees me every day, and has the chance to honour me almost daily. He always makes me feel really loved and all, and he can't do that with her. Also, I understand he wanted to show her that him having a relationship does not mean she's not his sister anymore. A priority in that sense. I'm not jealous because I know there's nothing romantic between them. She's pretty gay and polyamorous. He is the most monogamous guy in the world and he worships me, but I couldn't help but at least feel a bit, I don't know. Do I need to explain? Maybe disappointed, maybe unappreciated. I feel like I can never be the most important person in the room. We always talk about getting married, we're each other's life, and still, get me? And also he did this in front of everyone, in front of all our mutual friends who don't really know her and all she means to him, so I also felt kind of embarrassed. I am just venting. I want to go home and cry a bit. I know I'm being childish, but I guess I'll keep it that way for now. Yeah, sounds like all OP needs is a little bit of validation. I think it's completely normal to feel this way, and nobody is necessarily in the wrong here. Let's go to the comments. Your feelings are valid, OP. You can both be understanding and hurt at the same time. I'm not prone to overreaction, and I'd struggle not to feel hurt. You sound like you have a great relationship with your boyfriend. Share how you're feeling, and importantly, show him that emotion. Not out of spite, but because if he's in it for the long haul with you, you can't save or spare him from that. He should see you and all your vulnerability to know how deeply this went for you. Good luck, and keep us posted. That's interesting. I thought it was universal that the first slice of cake goes to the birthday person. I'm not from Brazil, but my family has always practiced this, and it's deemed rude to eat any cake before the birthday person has their first bite. Anyways, I would likely feel some type of way about that as well. It's nice to feel prioritized by your partner. Oh girl, I'm so sorry. Your feelings are totally valid. I'd also feel a bit embarrassed in front of all your and his friends who don't really know who she is. Just from reading this whole thing, you seem very understanding and sweet and really tried to understand his point of view. I'd feel somewhat embarrassed too if he did that in front of all your and his mutual friends. Plus you did so much for him and put in so much effort and love. It would have made more sense for him to give it to you. He could have honoured his friendship with that girl in a different way or introduced her to his friends. I'm so sorry. I hope you can talk to him about this soon. Part of the problem of being a nice person who does nice things for people is that you can't be equally nice to everyone simultaneously. Trying to be thoughtful can end up being thoughtless because you ended up being nice in the wrong order, upsetting people who rightly wanted to be prioritized. I understand feeling hurt, though luckily this is the sort of thing that can be reasonably easily cleared up by talking. Yeah, some sound advice. On to an update. Hi everyone, thank you for all the kind comments. Me and my boyfriend have very different energy spans, so I usually leave hangouts a lot earlier than him, which is what happened today. So I left, posted the story on Reddit, took a shower, and started to paint my nails. About 3 hours after I left, my boyfriend calls me. I pick up and he is sobbing. Notice he does not have Reddit, and he does not speak English, so he didn't know about the post, and I'd not talked about my feelings with him yet. So he calls me, absolutely pouring, saying he was going home and he has had the best day of his life, that he loves me so much for doing this for him, and spends the next 15 minutes talking between sobs about all the effort I put into the birthday celebration, thanking me for every single one of the things I did. Then he mentions the cake slice. He said to me that throughout his entire life, because he's always had birthdays in his mum's houses, he had never given a first slice to his best friend, who went through all that with him, and that me being empathetic enough to let him do this was honestly one of the most special things I'd ever done for him. He told me she'd been going through some very important stuff, and he was not around ever because of work in college, and she was feeling very left behind because of this, which is a huge thing since they're basically brother and sister, so the cake made her cry so much. It was the first time he'd ever done this, and she finally felt like he had not forgotten about her. And then, because I'd made that much effort for him, he asked me to rest. He told me that this next week was going to be entirely for him to show me appreciation. He asked me to please, for once, not sabotage him showing me love and pampering me because I feel like I don't deserve it. Because he was going to take his savings to take me out and spend the week giving me surprises. I know him well enough to expect some love notes, him showing up to surprise me at my place, maybe even a song written for me. He also invited me to spend the weekend at his place, just the two of us. He lives with his family and they're all going to the beach, leaving the house empty, so that he can cook me dinner and give me one of his hour-long, full-body massages. They're my favourite. Then after he said all of that, I took the opportunity to tell him about how I felt today. He listened quietly, and when I was finished, he apologized, saying that he did not realize that was how I felt, that was not his intention. He just thought that it did not mean as much to me as it would have meant for his friend, so he decided to honor her that way, and then honor me differently with my Princess Week. But he told me he understood how I felt, and that he was sorry anyway. We talked a bit more, but we got over the stuff pretty quickly, and it all ended up with us gossiping about the day, because Gossip, two friends of ours who don't really get along very well, apparently went back home together, and half drunk after I left. Man, I love Gossip. Well friends, I suppose that's my update. Maybe this is the day Reddit realizes that emotions are complicated, and life is too, which is why small moments do not define a relationship or someone's feelings. How we react to the situation and deal with it does. I love my boyfriend, and he loves me a lot too, and that does not mean he does not have any found family beyond me. That also does not mean I'm not allowed to feel sad. I have the right to feel what I feel, and to be welcomed in that feeling, being validated. I will marry this man, mark my words. Okie dokie folks, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, a great, positive, healthy relationship to kick things off. I love to see it. All too rare these days. Anyway, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one down below. Otherwise, we're going to move on to another story. Okay, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Pixies Love Petals, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend to get out after he refused to eat the meal I cooked? So here's what happened. I, 28 female, invited my sister, 25, and her boyfriend, 26, over for dinner. I love cooking and had spent hours preparing this fancy meal. Homemade pasta, a slow-cooked ragu, a salad, and a tiramisu for dessert. I was really proud of it and excited to have them over. When they arrived, everything was fine at first. We sat down and I started serving the food. Her boyfriend, let's call him Steve, stared at the pasta for a moment, then looked at me and said, I don't eat carbs. At first I thought he was joking, but nope, he was dead serious. He goes on about how he's super into keto and carbs are the enemy. Okay, fine, that's his choice, but when I offered to make him a salad or something else on the spot, he refused and said that I should have known about his diet beforehand. This is where it gets weird. He then pulls out a small Tupperware container from his bag, filled with what looked like boiled chicken and broccoli, and starts to eat it at my dinner table while the rest of us are trying to enjoy the meal I spent hours making. I was stunned and honestly kind of insulted. I told him it was rude to bring his own food without mentioning it to me beforehand, and he should have at least given me a heads up. He then goes off about how people need to respect his dietary choices, and that I was being controlling by not accommodating his needs. At this point, I'd had enough. I told him, "If you can't eat what's served and won't even let me make something else, then maybe you should just get out." He stood up and said something like, "I'm just trying to be healthy," grabbed his Tupperware and walked out. My sister stayed for a bit but eventually left too, saying I overreacted. Now my sister's mad at me, saying I embarrassed her boyfriend and made them both feel unwelcome. My mum thinks I should apologise, but my friends are on my side, saying Steve was being incredibly rude. Am I the a-hole for telling him to get out? What? I mean, if Opie didn't get a heads up about his diet, then I don't see the problem here. This guy's obviously completely devoid of basic etiquette if he doesn't think that pulling out another meal at someone's dinner table is insulting. Of course it is. Like, if not insulting, then it's definitely rude. And it's not about people just not accepting your diet, bro. It's about just basic manners at this point. Let's see what the comments think. Your sister didn't give you a heads up about his diet? Opie says, honestly, no, she didn't. I'm not even sure if she even knew how serious he was about the whole keto thing, because she never mentioned it. She eats pretty much anything, so I assumed he was the same. But even if she had, I feel like it still would have been polite for him to at least say something beforehand, instead of just showing up with his own meal. I would have happily made something keto-friendly if I'd known. My son's girlfriend has a gluten allergy. I know this because my son informed me before I made food for them. My husband's daughter is vegetarian. My daughter has a milk allergy. I wouldn't know any of this unless someone told me. You aren't a mind reader. He lost me when you offered alternatives and to make him something, and he insulted you by saying you should have known his diet. Nope, you are not the a-hole. He's a Dumbo because, well, keto baby, but your sister is the big a-hole. It was her responsibility to either make sure you knew about Twat Boy's weird diet and to try and come up with something that either you all could eat or pave the way for him to bring whatever soulless slop he wanted to eat. Or indeed to decide that given the effort you put into cooking and hosting, it might be better if Twat Boy sits this one out. I probably wouldn't have told him to piss off because, well, I'm British, but I'd have felt as insulted as you. Not the a-hole. Yeah, probably would have been some more colourful language if I'm reading between the lines there properly. Okay, on to an update. Well, y'all, buckle up because things have escalated in a way I never expected. After my initial post, I figured things would calm down once my sister had time to cool off. Spoiler alert, they did not. So, the day after I told Steve to leave, my sister texted me saying that they want to talk things through at a family dinner. I assumed it would be just the three of us, maybe at a neutral restaurant, where we could hash it out like adults. Nope. Instead, my sister invites my parents, my brother, and Steve's parents to this dinner at my parents' house, turning it into some kind of weird intervention. I show up thinking it'll just be a casual conversation, but the moment I walk in, Steve's mum, let's call her Carol, is already going off about how Steve has always had special dietary needs, and how people who care about him should respect his boundaries. The woman acts like the guy has a life-threatening allergy, not a trendy diet. My mum is sitting there looking super uncomfortable, while my dad's just quietly sipping his beer, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. So, Carol starts listing off Steve's dietary restrictions, and she's acting like I personally offended the whole keto community by serving pasta. Then, brace yourselves, Carol pulls out a folder. Yes, a literal folder with printouts. She hands one to me, one to my mum, and one to my dad. I'm flipping through this thing and it's full of Steve's dietary guidelines, suggested meal plans, and even a list of keto-friendly restaurants we could go to in the future. At this point, I'm doing everything I can not to laugh, but it gets worse. Steve pipes up and says he's willing to forgive me for disrespecting his lifestyle if I agree to host a redo dinner where I follow his dietary restrictions to the letter. He says this will prove I'm serious about making amends and respecting his needs going forward. I thought he was joking, but no, he was dead serious. He even pulled out his phone to show me some keto recipe apps that I might find helpful. I was in total shock. My sister, by the way, said absolutely nothing during all of this, just staring at her plate like she wanted to disappear. My mum, bless her, tries to smooth things over by suggesting we all just eat whatever we want when we're together, but Carol snaps. It's not that simple. She says that in their family, they all follow keto together, and that's why Steve is so passionate about it. At this point, I've had enough. I stood up and said, "Look, I'm not redoing the dinner. I'm not making anyone a special keto feast. If Steve can't eat what I cook, that's fine, but bringing his own meal to my dinner without even telling me was disrespectful, and I'm not apologizing for feeling that way." And then, this is where it gets absolutely bonkers, Steve's dad stands up, points at me and says, "This is exactly why Steve doesn't trust women to understand him. They always make it about themselves." The whole room went silent. My dad finally spoke up saying, "I think it's time for you all to leave," and started walking towards the door, basically escorting Steve's parents out. Steve and my sister stayed behind, but Steve was furious. He started yelling about how family should support each other, and then accused me of trying to sabotage their relationship because I'm jealous of what they have. At that point, I just walked out and left the whole mess behind. Here's the kicker though. A couple of days later, my sister called me and told me she and Steve were taking a break because she needed time to think. Apparently, this whole keto fiasco was the last straw in a long list of controlling behavior from Steve. She didn't realize just how bad it was until the whole family saw it play out at dinner. She even told me that Steve had been trying to get her to follow his diet for months, but she was hiding snacks in her car just to get a break from all the keto madness. So now, Steve's gone full radio silent. My sister is staying with me for the time being, and I'm still getting passive-aggressive texts from Carol about how hurt Steve is and how he's just misunderstood. Honestly, I'm just glad my sister is finally seeing how controlling this guy was. Geez, the one thing I took out of this story is that carbs sound really important for brain development. Let's read some final comments. Sister didn't tell her beforehand because she desperately wanted a non-keto meal for once. My auntie used to bring her own meals in Tupperware, but that was because she had some messy inflammatory allergic response to a bad piece of fish one time and had to slowly, over years, reintroduce anything other than plain steamed white rice and some vegetables to her diet, and got supplements and B12 injections for the rest. Like there were even certain types of salt that would have put her back in hospital. But she always made sure people knew in advance before they met up for gathered meals and dinner parties, and assured them that they didn't need to prepare anything for her because it was just so restrictive and she preferred to manage her own meals rather than roll the dice on another brush with death. But yeah, Steve's being a real arse about a non-medical choice he's made. As it never came up in his mummy's unhinged PowerPoint presentation, I'm assuming he's not diabetic and trying to manage it with ketogenic diet. Chicken and broccoli were just the key to his heart. Okay, ending on a pun there. Great, I'm not mad about it. Alright guys, give me your thoughts down below and we'll move on to another story. Okie dokie, same subreddit. This one was written by user It Was Midnight Sons S May, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for my response to my boyfriend's ultimatum over audiobooks?" My boyfriend and I have been together for around 3 years, and we've had a pretty easygoing relationship, no big fights or anything, until now, which is why I'm questioning myself so much. So, I listen to audiobooks, not erotic ones, though I do partake in audio-only porn sometimes, because as becomes important later, I have a thing for nice voices, but somehow someone just reading smut off a page feels weird for me to listen to. No judgment to anyone else, of course, just not my thing. My boyfriend has recently gotten a bug up his ass about me listening to them, especially when he's home, even though I always use headphones and do my best not to disturb him. Also, before anyone says it, my Audible account comes directly out of my own bank account. He has no reason to think it will affect his finances. Anyway, he only ever gave snide little remarks until the latest time, so I let it go. Most recently, I'd been making us dinner and cleaning up behind myself as I did it, and because he was playing video games, and I get bored doing those kind of things without something else to think about, I turned on my favourite audiobook, and picked up where I'd been listening the week before. I didn't realize he was in the kitchen until he jerked the cord on my headphones and asked if I was doing it again. I asked what he was talking about, and he just sighed and said that he needed to talk to me. We sat down, and I'll admit I was pretty ticked that he had jerked on my headphones and not super willing to listen to anything right then, another reason I might be an a-hole. He said that it really bothered him when I listened to audiobooks from a man's perspective because he knows about my voice thing and that it makes him uncomfortable. I asked why, and he said that he couldn't get it out of his head that I was thinking sexual things about the characters, and that, along with the romantic elements, made him really upset and felt almost like I wasn't fully committed to him. I asked if he realized I was listening to a book for teens written by a literal Mormon and that none of the books I listened to have smut. He said that it didn't matter and started getting angry again, which just made me angrier, and he dropped the ultimatum that he wanted me to stop or else we would need to break up. I was so ticked at this point that I just shrugged and said, "Gladly, the minute you stop watching porn I'll never touch any of it again," which had him ticked because he claimed he'd never said anything about porn, only the romantic and sexual parts of the books I listened to. I said that if he was allowed to make ultimatums of favourite pastimes, why can't I? Then I asked if he would rather give up video games since that's closer to what audiobooks mean to me. He ended up just saying to frickin' forget it and went to bed, but has been ticked at me since. I talked to my friends about the situation and got mixed answers, so I wanted to try with strangers as well. Whoa, geez, insecurity over an audiobook that isn't even erotic or anything like that is pretty weird. There's honestly no genuine explanation why he would have reservations with this. To me, it sounds like a stepping stone to more controlling behavior. What do you guys think? Let's see what the comments say. This is a big red flag to me. Is he so insecure that he can't stand the idea of you listening to, gasp, another man? You weren't even listening to anything provocative when he did this, and he had that kind of reaction. Where is all his anger coming from? The fact that he dropped an ultimatum, books for F's sake, or breaking up is insane to me. This seems like such an odd thing for him to want to have control over. You're wearing headphones, not listening to it on speakerphone, and you're minding your own business, and he has the audacity to be upset you're doing that. Personally, I would cut ties, but if you feel like he's a good partner to you in other aspects, and he isn't controlling about other things you do, i.e. what you wear, who you hang out with, etc., then maybe try talking it out when he's calm. Opie replies, he did try to explain that he felt as if I reacted to the romantic parts in ways I don't react to him, which almost made sense. But then all I can think is, yeah, of course I do. This kind of romantic thing doesn't exist in real life, and I don't expect it to. But to hear about it is enough to make me blush or laugh because it's cute. I've never expected him to be an over-the-top romantic. I don't think I would enjoy it in real life. It would more than likely overwhelm me, but I do like to hear about it, I guess. This part does make me feel a little bad, because at the time I was so angry about the headphone pulling. I don't know why it set me off so bad. No one has ever done it to me before, but for some reason it had me ticked. I couldn't even react to it like I should have. I honestly maybe should have just asked to wait, the more I think about it. He put his hands on you, girl. He's getting mad over fictional characters and stories. I'd think long and hard about what you want to do going forward. He's weirdly hung up on this voice thing. Pleasant voices are soothing and relaxing, etc. It's not like he stopped cooking dinner to masquerade spread eagle on the counter while moaning with the narrator's voice. Sheesh, I feel your ultimatum is fair. Anywho, let's get to the important part. What author are you talking about? Opie says, The Midnight Sun audiobook. And I know, Twilight in 2024, but Jake Abel pulls off making Edward both a scary 100-year-old vampire and an eternally teenaged boy in love, and it's fun. I love it. I don't care if it's bad. I adored the original series when I was younger, and then this one dropped and New Moon stopped being my favourite of the series. Yeah, my girlfriend's really trying to convince me to watch the Twilight movies with her, but I'm not sure if I can do it sober. What do you think, chat? Should I do it? Anyway, moving on to the update. So it's been a while. I didn't think I would update because the original update would have been mostly us talking and working things out, agreeing that whenever he felt insecure he could tell me and I could focus my attention on him for a while. It worked really great. Well, until I found out he'd been banging his co-worker, that is. I don't have the details. I don't want the details, but he admitted to it in the end, so he did it. That's enough. He wanted to work it out and apologized, begged for a second chance, but honestly, the idea that he said a word to me about an audiobook about Edward frickin' Cullen while he was getting strange on the side, it killed any opportunity for forgiveness I had inside of me. It was so ridiculous. I laugh thinking about it now, and it's been a month since we broke up. Like, it makes me feel insane. It is so funny. He was yelling at me for listening to a book about Mormon vampires while he was cheating on me. I cannot make this crap up. 100 points to whoever said projection the first time I posted. I can't remember if it was a comment or a message, but you were right. I wish I had a cookie. Thanks for the help anyway, even if the relationship is a bust now. I really do appreciate you all. Yeah, I mean, I had high hopes, but honestly, can't say I'm not surprised with the outcome. What about you guys? Let me know your thoughts down below. Either way, that was a fun one, and we'll move on to another story. Okay, we're going over to Am I Wrong? This one was written by user Nice Ad, and it's titled, Am I wrong for siding with my mum when she told my wife she isn't family? My beautiful wife Zoe and I have been married for a year. I have a 10-year-old sister, Liv, who is a very shy, quiet, well-behaved kid. With her parents or super close family friends, she is sassy, funny, outgoing, but around most adults, she is super reserved. Zoe and Liv have an okay relationship, but I certainly wouldn't say they're close. Liv hates the movie character Krampus. When she was 4, she went downstairs on Christmas Eve, and my mum and her friend were watching the movie in the dark living room, and it scared the crap out of her. It's not like she's still super scared of it, but she definitely still hates it. We were recently staying with my family while in between places, just for a month, and Zoe found a Halloween mask that looked similar to Krampus at her friend's house and thought it would be hilarious to prank Liv. I really don't think she had bad intentions. She has a mischievous streak, and it was totally something Liv's dad would do. So Zoe woke her up with the mask, and Liv didn't think it was funny and basically just wouldn't talk to her. My mum came into our room and very aggressively told Zoe, quote, "If you ever go into my sleeping child's room again, we are going to have a huge problem." Zoe tried to say she was just playing around and she didn't think they would get mad, as Liv's dad does stuff like that. My mum said, "He is her frickin' dad, you aren't family." Zoe was furious and asked if I was really not going to defend her. I said, "You are 100% my family, but Liv probably doesn't think of you as family, and that is understandable." My mum even clarified that is what she meant. She said she considers her husband family, but would never ask us to, and she told Zoe to accept that she isn't Liv's family. Zoe is furious with me for not standing up for her. I feel my mum was mostly right. Liv doesn't view Zoe as family and is more closed off and reserved with her versus her dad, who she's 100% comfortable with and would feel she could get back at. Zoe is my family, but it seems weird to push her onto my family. Edit, because no one is getting it, Zoe is absolutely my family. Zoe and I are a family, and my mum, her husband, and Liv are their own family. Yeah, I think I get what OP's saying, and it was definitely very overzealous of the wife to scare the little kid like that. Definitely a huge misread, and she probably needs to apologize. Let's go to the comments. Who thinks it's funny to scare a shy, sensitive child? What your wife did was stupid and childish. I'm pretty sure when she told you the idea, you knew what the outcome would be, so you're guilty by association. Now that being said, if my husband's family did not consider me as family, and he refused to stand up for me, his wife, I would be getting that 1-year-old marriage annulled or a divorce. Why do people think it's okay to do stupid crap because it's just a joke or just a prank? You aren't wrong 100%, but a little bit. Liv doesn't see Zoe as family. She's a child. She's also shy and reserved and not close to Zoe. It was crappy of your mum to say that to Zoe, but she was pissy at the time. Zoe went into a sleeping child's room with a mask to scare her, and now she's mad because your mum said something mean because she was mad. You should have said something to both your mum and Zoe. both were wrong. She has a mischievous streak. In other words, she plays mean pranks and gets mad when others get ticked and tell her off. A child is off limits. Straight to an update. Well, my last post got a lot of attention and was a lot more decisive than I was expecting. I'd like to clarify some things. I do think of Zoe as my family. She's the most important family in my life. Liv is my half-sister and I don't have a relationship with her dad, my mum's husband, though I know that might be scandalous, some of you with your views of family. I would never prank Liv because we don't have that relationship, so I was pretty horrified that my wife pranked her. My mum never forced her husband on me, so I stand by not forcing Zoe on Liv. Well, I just wanted to let you all know that we're now no contact with my family. So the Krampus prank took place Friday night, and I haven't really been home since due to crazy work hours. I got home and found Zoe hysterical. I've never seen her like that. She was on the verge of a panic attack and couldn't stop crying. My mum's husband came in and in a really mocking voice said, "It's just a prank, bro," like he was trying to be some cool TikTok kid. While I was gone, my mum told Zoe they were going out to dinner with Liv, so Zoe was home alone, and my mum's husband and some of their pieces of crap friends staged a break-in. They had ski masks and ropes, and obviously Zoe thought she was going to die. Then Liv popped out giggling like crazy, and Zoe realized what was going on. I don't agree with what Zoe did to Liv, but it is nothing compared to this sadistic crap. I actually hit my stepdad, which is crazy because he's a black belt, and I might regret it in the morning, but I've never been so ticked. I told my mum I would never forgive her. She began screaming about how she was in my child's frickin' bedroom, she had no right, blah blah blah. I am done. We got our crap and went to a motel. Honestly, what sucks is my godfather was involved, and I always thought he was a cool dude. But whatever, he picked his side. Screw them. Now for some final comments. Well, would it have been a prank if the wife pulled out a gun and shot a few of the people breaking in? I see they wanted to get back at the wife from the first prank, but no one seems to actually know what the hell a prank is. Pranks are supposed to be harmless and funny, fun for everyone involved. These are like hazing. First, your wife was wrong, and I don't think anyone is disputing that. And really, the only complaint your mum seems to have is that she went in your sister's room, which I agree with. If she'd jumped out from behind a door or something, then I would say your wife wasn't wrong. None of that excuses a group of grown men causing a woman to think she's about to be assaulted and possibly killed. That is not a prank. There are so many other actual pranks they could have done if they really felt like they needed to get back at her, but they chose something dark and scummy. The problem your mum has now is she's lost any moral standing she initially had, which is what happens when you stoop lower than the person you're offended by. If she or her idiot husband says anything about you hitting him, you can look them right in the eye and say, "It's just a prank, bro," and then tell them that they now have no room to act self-righteous or as if they have any ground to stand on anymore, since they chose to retaliate in the way they did. They got back at your wife in a terrible way, so going along with their childish mindset, they're even with your wife and now can no longer hold the prank against her. You, however, have every right to protect your wife from people who have just proven that they're willing to go to the extreme to put her in her place. Yeah, hard not to disagree with that sentiment. Often it's the retaliator that goes further than the instigator, and there really is just no need. Anyway, as always, give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Otherwise, we're moving on to another story. Okay, popping back over to Am I the A-hole, this one was written by user Sensitive Guess, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for leaving a drunk girl alone at a bar? This involves me, 32 male, Matt, 30 male, Matt's girlfriend Lisa, 28, and her friend Jane, 20s. 2 days back, it was Matt's birthday. He invited me and a few of our friends to a small birthday dinner at this restaurant, which is also kind of a bar. The plan was to eat, drink, and chill. Matt's girlfriend, Lisa, also invited a few of her own friends. It was a group of around 15 people. I mostly hung out with my own friends and Matt, and Lisa's friends with her. One of Lisa's friends, Jane, kept trying to talk to me throughout the evening. It It was kinda awkward for me as I'm an introvert and the conversations with her felt like they were going nowhere. At around 12, I decided to head back home. Jane came up to me and told me that even she wanted to go back home. I was like, okay, cool. Then she asked me if I could drop her off at her house. I asked her where she lived, and she told me some address that wasn't even on my way. So I told her to ask someone else to drop her off. She asked me if I was sure I couldn't, and I was like, yep, absolutely. Jane was visibly drunk, but I figured she had like a group of friends so someone would give her a ride. Also, I was tired as F and just wanted to go back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to some very angry messages from Lisa. She was furious at me for leaving Jane alone at the party. Apparently they all assumed that since I was hanging out with Jane, I would have the decency to drop her back home. I told her that I talked to Jane for a total of like 15 minutes in the entire 3 to 4 hours, and I don't understand why everyone wanted me to be her personal chauffeur. All of her friends obviously think I'm a huge a-hole. Matt has decided to stay neutral on this. Nah, it sounds like all the friends were just trying to ship them together and didn't work out, and now they're a bit angry about it. Let's go to the comments. You didn't leave her alone, you left her in a bar with her friends. Just because their matchmaker game didn't work and they're embarrassed about it, doesn't mean they can shift the blame to you. Lisa sounds like an a-hole. They're just ticked because Jane was into you and you didn't reciprocate. You had no obligation to her at all, regardless of what they say. I'm guessing that taxis and Uber were available, as well as all or most of Lisa's friends. Lisa and her friends were the only ones who had any sort of moral obligation to make sure she got home fine, and even then, Jane's a frickin' adult, so she can frickin' adult. Matt doesn't seem like much of a friend, bud. Opie says, I feel Matt is just trying not to piss off his girlfriend. I don't blame him, honestly. Not the a-hole, that's what Uber is for. You're not a taxi because you talk to a girl for a bit in a bar. Not the a-hole. Jane was Lisa's guest and it was up to her and her friends to get Jane home. Not you just because you talked to her for a few minutes. That's ridiculous. Sounds like the girls were all planning on setting you up with Jane, and part of that plan was for you to give her a ride home so she could be alone with you. That plan failed, and now they're all mad. Not your fault, not your problem. Not the a-hole. Everyone who goes out needs to know how they'll get home. She went to a party and had no clue how she was getting home. Plus, she decided to get drunk on top of things. Personally, I wouldn't drive a drunk stranger home. Yeah, probably smart advice. Okay, Opie makes an update 2 months later. Lisa entirely stopped talking to me after the incident. Not that we were close before, but she would sometimes forward reels etc. on Instagram. Matt was also being distant, but whatever. I got busy with work and forgot about it. A week after the said incident, Matt texted me saying he needed a favor. He said he wanted me to apologize to Jane. I was like, F no, I'm not apologizing to her. Matt said that he knows that it's not my fault at all and he's tried explaining this to Lisa, but she's adamant that I was an a-hole to Jane and made Lisa look bad in front of her. Apparently Lisa gave Matt an ultimatum, saying that if I don't apologize to her and Jane, Matt needs to cut me off. This honestly was some high school BS that Lisa was partaking in, and very toxic, and I told Matt the same thing, but he was really desperate and pathetically sad, so I agreed to text Jane an apology. I texted her something along the lines of, Hey, sorry I didn't drop you off at your place like you asked. I was really tired and wasn't thinking. My bad. She replied with, It's alright, don't worry about it. But this apparently made Jane think I'm interested in her or something, and I felt like an absolute idiot for agreeing to apologize. She started texting me, a lot. In the beginning I gave monosyllabic replies, but then her texting increased a lot, and I straight up hit her with, Please stop texting me, I'm not interested. This hurt her and she snitched about this to Lisa, again high school BS, and Lisa started threatening Matt to go no contact with me. They fought about this non-issue for like a week, and this made Matt realize that Lisa is really toxic, and they broke up. Jane hasn't tried contacting me either. Life is peaceful for the time being. The end. One comment says, Sounds like Jane wasn't the only one causing drama and being toxic. Glad you were able to cut out the negativity in your life. OP says, I'm glad Matt got back to his senses, to be honest. Another comment says, World's worst wing woman throws tantrums until he dates you. I was about to say how glad I am not to be in middle school anymore, but even being 33 didn't protect Opie from this bullcrap. So I guess I'm glad I'm happily married and don't have to deal with dating or people trying to date me. They tried to set Opie up with a girl almost 10 years younger, and then got angry when he wasn't interested. Yeah, those people seem awful. Yeah, make it make sense. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Maybe you got a similar story you'd like to share. Either way, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.